Ready? Start. Sir, the other day, supporting the resolution, I was pointing out the alarming tendency, especially in the industrial sector, to cut the number of women employed in each category of job. I also submitted that the basic reason for this downfall in the employment of women, especially in the industrial sector, is the growing number of beneficial labor legislations. You will find, especially after the Maternity Benefits Act was passed in the plantations and many other industrial sectors, deliberately there is an avoidance of employment of women. The resolution has been tabled in order to bring to the attention of the government the immediate necessity of taking some sort of urgent action to see that this sort of discrimination in the employment of women does not continue. As far as the actual employment position is concerned, from 1950 onwards, it has not been possible to collect information, neither the government has done it, how far exactly the number of women employed in the industrial sector has gone up, or how far in the new employment potential to keep up the proportion of the past women have been employed. I will be able to point out only certain glaring instances where both in the commercial employment side and also in the industrial side there has been a deliberate refusal on the part of the employers to employ women, or a desire to get rid of the women already employed. I would call the attention on the Honorable Labour Minister to the speech made by the West Bengal Labour Minister on 19th June 1958, taking note of the alarming situation of the number of women employed, especially in the jute industry, rapidly coming down. The Labour Minister of West Bengal at that time promised the legislature to take immediate and swift action as far as this cutting of the employment potential of women in the jute sector was concerned. But even after that assurance was given by the Labour Minister of West Bengal, we find that a large number of women who were employed in the various sectors of the jute industry are being retrenched just because they are women laborers. When we analyze the question whether the retrenchment of this labor in the jute industry is not just because there is a need for any retrenchment of labor, we find that it is not a question of retrenchment pure and simple. After retrenchment, a large number of women workers in a particular department of the jute mills, what happens is a large number of casual laborers are employed there instead of these women workers. Therefore, we find that in the jute industry, where from the very beginning women were employed to do particular categories of job, now women are being sent away and instead of them men are employed. Then coming to textiles, especially in the Coimbatore area where women are employed in the reeling department, what the employer does is he recruits casual men labor and asks the women labor trained in reeling works to train the men workers, and immediately they are trained under some excuse or other. These women workers are retrenched. In the case of the new textile mills that are opening, what they are doing is because in the textile industry they are able to get a large number of trained women workers. They employ women casual labor and also employ men workers simultaneously and get these men workers trained by the women workers who are already trained and who are already retrenched. Immediately the men are trained by the already trained women workers. The women workers are sent away just because they are casual labor and the men workers are permanent. This is the situation in the textile mills. In the plantations too, from time immemorial, when the plantations started, you find a large number of women workers are employed in them. In every plantation, women used to do particular categories of work all the time. It is noteworthy that in the plantations, when men workers are recruited, their wives also work in the plantations. The family does the work in the plantations. What happens is, even for certain types of work in which women used to be employed, the employers are refusing to employ women. These are things directly done by the employers to see that the number of women workers who are at present employed is reduced and not to employ more women workers at all. As a consequence, you find a very steep reduction in the ratio of women workers employed already in the industry and non-recruitment of women workers in the new units that are coming up, especially in the textile sector. There is another way in which the employer tries to put a new check in the way of employment of women labor in the commercial establishments and certain semi-governmental institutions. Stop. the noblest sons of India and had achieved a high reputation could come to such a pass. I would not like to take the time of the house by repeating all the things which have been said in the Mudaliar Committee's report. I would, however, invite your attention to a few salient and important points which have been made out in it. The university was not devoting itself to its main function, which is to pursue knowledge and to further and disseminate it. There are many instances in the report which clearly indicate that some of the professors of the university have completely lost sight of the main goal and were engaged in activities which brought discredit to the university. I have every respect for the freedom not only of academic institutions but also of the teachers, and how can it be otherwise when I have worked as a teacher all my life? But we must remember that teachers, like others, can enjoy freedom only to the extent that they show a due sense of responsibility in carrying out their obligation towards the students as well as the institutions and the public. The autonomy of the university is meant for the purpose of enabling it to carry out a specific mission, namely the communication and enlargement of knowledge. If the teachers neglect their duties and indulge in unsavory intrigues and careerism, the liberty passes over into license. No democratic society can be a party to this degeneration of the meaning of liberty. I should not like to give the impression to this house that there are no good teachers in the Banaras Hindu University. I have no doubt that the majority of the teachers would normally like to discharge their responsibilities conscientiously. It is perhaps a small proportion of teachers and others who exercise pressure tactics in the court and in the executive council for the promotion of their personal interests and vitiate the atmosphere of the university. This crisis would not have developed if the saner and well-meaning elements in the university had asserted themselves by standing up courageously against these dangerous trends and refusing to cooperate with their colleagues who were responsible for lowering the standards of professional integrity. The greatest need in our universities today is to create a healthy and courageous public opinion, for if it is not to be found in centers of learning, where else can we look for it? If the university authorities are compelled to take action against persons who are guilty of academic and moral offences, they would receive full moral support from the members of the faculty. It is only in this way that proper ethos could be developed in our institutions of higher learning. The reputation of a university rests on a spirit of disinterested scholarship and the healthy personal influence which its professors are able to exercise on the students. If this spirit is maintained, the university authorities will be able to guard the integrity of its work and discipline and protect its academic and moral values. As I have said, it is not a pleasant thing for government that it should have to intervene in the affairs of the universities. But what is the government to do when the university authorities find themselves unable to deal with the people who are constantly guilty of professional incompetence and lack of integrity and thus vitiate the academic atmosphere? In such circumstances, it is the duty of the government to ensure that the institutions of higher learning which are financed by public funds give the high quality of educational services. Stop.